Hi everybody. Today's contract tip is just short and sweet. Dana Sparks, broker of Maximum One Greater Atlanta, and the topic I want to talk about today is how to effectively write an amendment to address concerns. If you are representing a buyer and they are asking the seller to perform some repairs on an amendment to address concerns, there is a way that I want you to think about. There is a formula to use to think about how to write this amendment to get it approved or have it more easily negotiated. So I've done a ton of videos on repair issues, and y'all know my stance from my videos and from the CE classes I teach that it is by far better to have a buyer and a seller negotiate financially rather than asking the seller to actually have repairs done, because generally speaking, a seller performing repairs is not what the buyer had in mind, and there can be issues when you're doing walkthroughs. So if at all possible, it is by far better to negotiate financially rather than actually have a seller perform repairs. Again, I will link some videos below. I have addressed this many times with various ways to handle this financially. Sale price, closing costs, payment to a vendor at closing from seller's proceeds, so forth and so on. However, for today's video, if you are writing an amendment, let's say you're representing the buyer that had an inspection, you have an inspection report, and there are some items on that report that you would like the seller to address. I do not suggest you attach that report. I suggest you just list, or you amend, or you in the amendment, you put in there items that the buyer wishes for the seller to address. That's what Steve Pup says too. So a couple of things. Number one, you always want to number your items. Don't put asterisks, don't put dashes, don't put, a sentence and then two spaces and another sentence. Number your items. Number one, blah, blah, blah. Number two, blah, blah, blah. Number three, blah, blah, blah. Number four, you get the picture. Why? Why should you do that rather than asterisks or just list? Because if you are going to negotiate these items, it is so much easier and everybody stays on the same page. Rather, if you can just reference that item. So the buyer writes a list of 5 items numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The seller counters back saying, seller will do number 1, 2, and 4, will not do 3 and 5. Well, everybody is on the same page and knows what you're talking about. That way, it's just easier rather than saying the first item, the second item, the fourth item. Well, if you mess up looking at how it's written on the page, you could totally not understand what it is that the parties are trying to agree to. So that's the first item. Number your items. The second very important thing is use verbs. Verbs? What do you mean, Dana? I mean, don't just say seller to address reverse polarity in outlet in bathroom. What does that mean? You need to specifically say seller to in outlet on left-hand side. I started to say passenger side or driver's side. My mind's on cars. The outlet on the left-hand side above the sink in the primary bedroom. Seller to have an electrician licensed in the state of Georgia repair the reverse polarity or replace the outlet. Or, for example, let's say let's say there is rotten wood around one of the windows. Then you would say seller to, don't just say seller to address rotten wood around the windows. What does that mean? Nobody knows what that means, to address it. Okay, how? What do you want me to do? So what you should write is something specific, such as seller to replace rotten window around the three windows on the front of the house that face the street, that are the windows from the front sitting room. Seller to replace the wood and have it repainted to match the rest of the house. And then all repairs to be complete, seller to have all repairs complete by 2 weeks, 8 days prior to closing date, something like that. But so that's the next item, is you want to make sure that the completion date is prior to day of closing. You don't want to have these issues. You want the buyer to do a walkthrough to check on these items, not day of closing. Not day of closing. That doesn't give a lot of leeway to address any of these things that have not been done. So those are the three main things. I've done lots of videos going on and on and on, but the three main things regarding the amendment, not repair issues in general, but how to write an effective amendment. Number one, number your items. Number two, make them specific and make them action oriented. Identify exactly what it is you're talking about and exactly what you want the seller, what the buyer wants the seller to do. And number three, put in a completion date prior to closing, but for example, a week or 8 days or 10 days prior to closing, in plenty of enough time for the buyer to go check on the repairs and buyer and seller to work through any issues that did not come about as expected. And finally, step number 4, probably the most important step. Well, let me just say the step that will probably prevent the most number of headaches. Step number 4 is provide consequences for the seller's lack of action. For example, you have all this stuff. You have the items numbered. You have them specific and action items. Seller to replace and repaint, so forth and so on. The third window, the window in the middle to the left of the front door when facing the house, that is to the living room. You have those items. And you have a time frame by which the seller is to complete those repairs. Number 4, step 4 will prevent you headaches. Provide consequences if the seller doesn't do it. Without consequences, there is no automatic termination rights for a buyer with refund of earnest money. There's no automatic that it survives closing. So step number 4, provide consequences. You could, if you want the seller to perform, you could add the magic phrase. See one of my other videos. These provisions shall survive closing. That makes those items continue. Those items are contractually enforceable after closing. Without that magic phrase, they don't automatically survive closing. In other words, the seller is not obligated to perform those repairs after closing unless you say these items shall survive closing. Or should seller not complete these items at closing from seller's proceeds, seller to give buyer a credit of X amount of dollars. Or should seller not complete all the above items at closing, seller to escrow X amount of dollars with holder until they're complete. I'm not going to give you the whole special step for that. There's actually a GAR contract, GAR document for that, or get with a closing attorney to write out how to write in an escrow agreement. Or should seller not complete items, buyer reserves right to declare contract null and void and under no penalty and receive all full refund of all earnest money. So you have to provide consequences. That is step number 4. Check out other videos on repairs. Thank you all so much for watching. Dana Sparks, broker of Maximum One Greater Atlanta, and Seema Sparks. There she is. Satisfying your needs with service, innovation, and education. Bye. If you like that video, check out the one here. If you like the content on this entire channel, please click here to subscribe. I try to take even the most complicated of real estate situations and make them crystal clear. See what I did there? Real estate made crystal clear. Thank you guys so much for watching.